Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. My name is Taylor, for those of you who have never been here before, and today we are redoing a video I did a few months ago. It was probably like the beginning of the year, on the different death types in The Sims 4. This was of course before Eco Lifestyle came out, which added a few more death types, and I also missed a couple, so I added those as well. So we actually have 26 different ways that a Sim can die, which is a lot of ways that you can kill Sims, so it's actually kind of surprising. I thought it was way less than that, but it's kind of a lot, so we do have quite a few to go through. But before we start, if you could just give this video a thumbs up if it's something that you enjoy. Be sure to share it with your friends if you think they're interested in ways to kill Sims. You know, I don't know who you're friends with, maybe they like that kind of stuff. So let's just jump into the death types in The Sims. We're going to start with all of the base game death types, of course. The first one is, of course, dying of old age. This is going to happen when a Sim has reached the end of their elder life stage and their age bar is going to start to like sparkle or like bubble. I don't even know like what you would call that, but it goes from just having a little bit of space at the end, or a lot of space depending on how old they are, to having this beautiful sparkly bubbly thing when they are ready to pass away, meaning that they are going to be gone in hours, or maybe you'll get a day with them, but it's usually only a few hours once that starts. And what happens is they're going to slowly fall to the floor as if they're kind of like, okay, this is what's happening now, and they are accepting death, and the Grim Reaper will come. The next death is a classic, which is death by fire. This has been in the game since The Sims 1, and of course we love death by fire. It's one of the best ways to kill Sims. So if you have a smoke detector on your lot and there's any sense that there's fire on the lot, the firefighters will come and they will put out the fire. So you want to make sure that if you're trying to kill a Sim by fire that you do not have a smoke detector. But what's going to happen here is that if your Sims are caught on fire and they fail to extinguish themselves and the fire just kind of runs rampant around them, they are going to pass away. They will burn up. And it's not fun to watch. This is one of the ones where I get like a little bit like, ooh, that looks painful, and I don't necessarily want to watch. But then Grim will of course come to greet them. The next one is death by drowning, another Sims classic. Now in past Sims games, you were able to just put a Sim in a pool, take away the ladder, and they couldn't figure out how to get out of the pool. But Sims 4 Sims are a little bit smarter in that, not in many other ways, but definitely with that, and they are able to just kind of pop themselves out of the pool, so you have to put a fence or walls around the pool for them to drown. They're going to spend like about, honestly, like almost a day in the pool until all of their needs go down and they eventually drown and are just laying at the bottom of the pool waiting for Grim. It's pretty grim, not gonna lie. The next death we have is death by starvation. This death takes a few days and it happens when a Sim eats absolutely nothing. You'll get little moodlets being like, okay, so they're hungry, okay, so they're starving, and it'll tell you how long until they get to the next stage, until eventually the moodlet will say starves to death in an amount of time. So you actually know exactly how much time until they pass, which is kind of nice if you're trying to kill Sims for a specific reason, but they will be very, very hungry and tell you that they're hungry as they are passing away, and it's pretty grim. And Grim will come greet them as well. The next death we have is death by overexertion that happens to elders. This is an elder-only death type and happens when an elder uses too much of their body. This could be through fitness or through woohoo. If you have an elder woohoo twice in a row, they actually do have a pretty high chance of passing away from overexertion, but after the first time that you woohoo or exercise, you will get a moodlet telling you that it is pretty dangerous for them to keep doing so much physical activity and that this could kill them. So you do have a warning, but it's more fun to just let it happen. So this may have dire consequences if they woohoo too much in a row as an elder, but you get a visit from Grim Reaper, maybe you can be friends. The next is of course death by cowplant. Cowplants are an interesting creature in The Sims 4 and definitely a welcome addition to the game. We love cowplants. This is something that you can keep as a pet, but you have to make sure you keep it fed, because if not, the cowplant will try to lure you over with a piece of cake coming out of its mouth that you are able to grab and eat, and your Sim will be swallowed. The first time they get swallowed, they will not die. Most of the time, I've never actually seen if there's a chance that they could die on the first try, but every time that I've ever done it, it's always been the second time that they pass away. So they will get swallowed, be spit back out, and if they go and try to eat the cake again, then they will be swallowed by the cowplant and you'll never see them again. The next death is death by electrocution. Sometimes when a Sim who has low handiness skill tries to fix something, they might get electrocuted, giving them a dazed moodlet. And if you try to make them fix another electronic in that time period while they have the dazed moodlet, they have a high chance of actually passing away from it. So you should definitely make sure that you are not, unless you want to, making Sims fix things while they're feeling dazed, because Grim will pay you a visit. And the last three deaths in The Sims 4 base game are of course the emotional deaths, which are some of the ones that come out of nowhere and surprise you sometimes. So we have three different kinds of deaths that are based on their emotions. The first one is, of course, death by cardiac explosion, which happens when your Sims get enraged. This is the very intense type of anger that your Sims can experience. A really easy way to do this is if your Sim catches their significant other cheating on them, and then you just get the significant other to yell at them a little bit, like you can see here on screen with Bella and Mortimer, because Bella decided to go in with a pancake, and yeah, so he got really angry, and he ended up dying from a death by cardiac explosion. This is one of the ones that always makes me laugh because they just get so angry that they die. It's just funny to me. Speaking of funny, the next one we have is dying from too much laughter. This is when your Sims get hysterical, which is the very intense emotion from playful. These Sims, they will just be giggling a lot, telling lots of jokes until eventually they essentially just choke on their own laughter and die. It's a little bit crazy, and once again, grim, and grim will come to greet you. And finally, for the base game, we have death by embarrassment. This is a fun one. They will become mortified. So your Sims will get mortified. One of the most common ways is if your Sim tries to propose to someone and they say no. Mortification is something that can happen pretty easy. You can also get mortified by having people like walk in on you, or some teens get really intense moodlets when coming home from school sometimes, and they'll be feeling mortified. And these ones are just kind of funny. I really do like the emotional deaths in the game. If they're going to use the emotion system for anything, it should be death. I wish that there was like a death by sadness. That's the only one I would add. But those are all the base game deaths. So now let's go into some stuff pack deaths. The first one is death by the wishing well, which happens in the Sims 4 romantic garden stuff. Now this one has interesting gameplay. So the wishing well in the Sims 4 romantic garden stuff is interesting because you can ask it for a whole bunch of stuff. You can ask it for money, you can ask it for love. It's actually pretty cool. You should definitely look into that if you have that pack and you've never used it. However, there are different ways that the wishing well can react, and one of those ways is death, where it will immediately turn you into a ghost. Like if you ask for a long life, you could be turned into a ghost if the wishing well is not feeling too happy with you. There's also a chance that if you ask for simoleons, the wishing well will set you on fire and burn up all your money, but you'll also be on fire and have a chance to die. So you should definitely be careful around the wishing well because sometimes it's just not nice to you. The next one is death by rabid rodent fever from The Sims 4 My First Pet stuff. Now this may be a controversial pack in The Sims 4 world, but honestly this is one of my favorite deaths because if you have a negative relationship with one of your little rodents on your lot and they have a dirty cage, there's a chance that if you go and you play with them that they will bite you. If they bite you and you don't figure out, how to get rid of your rabid rodent fever really quickly, in about 3 days your Sim will die. And this is one of the kind of most intense actual deaths that I've ever seen, and it has the best ghost. So when the Sim is dying, they actually grab onto their face and then their mouth starts foaming as if it's a lot, as if they have rabies, and yeah, it's just a lot. And when they become a ghost, they actually are wearing the giant rodent costume, which is pretty funny. So if you see the ghost walking around, they are dressed beautifully, I would say. And the final stuff pack death is the Sims 4 Tiny Living with the Murphy bed. It seems like they may have patched this since the release because I feel like when you first got Tiny Living, it was a lot more common for Sims to die from the Murphy bed, and it actually took me 50 tries of getting them to put it up, take it down, put it up, take it down to get someone to actually pass away. But there's a chance that your Murphy bed can malfunction if you don't upgrade it enough, and your Sims will die from the Murphy bed. They will just get squished and they'll flop around a little bit. It's honestly hilarious and I love it every single time. So now we'll go into some of the game pack deaths. The first one we have is from The Sims 4 Strangerville, and that is of course death by the mother plant. This happens when you don't bring anybody to help you in fighting the mother plant. You will kind of get warned that if you keep trying by yourself, you're going to probably die. So you don't, you're aware that you're risking death by the mother plant if you don't bring some other Sims to help you to defeat it. It's probably not a good idea to try and fight that scary plant all by yourself, but if you want to, you do have a chance of passing away. The next one comes from The Sims 4 Realm of Magic, which is Spellcaster Overload. If a Spellcaster in The Sims 4 does too many interactions with magic in a row, they have a chance of overloading their little circle thing. And when they do this, they can pass away because they've used too much of their power. Now, usually you'll get kind of a do-over where you'll fill the bar and then they'll kind of look like they're gonna die, but they don't, and then their little circle cracks, and then if you do it again once or twice, then they will pass away, and your spellcaster will be no more, and you will get a visit from Mr. Grim Reaper. The next death type is Overexposure from The Sims 4 Vampires. This happens when a vampire spends too much time outside in the sun, and they will just burn to a crisp, and it honestly looks really gross because you can like see them burning. It makes me uncomfortable, but it's fine. These vampires shouldn't be out in the sun unless they have some of the sun resistance perks that you can buy for your vampire, because vampires and sun just don't mix. It's not a good idea. Don't do it. Next, we have The Sims 4 Spa Day, where you have the ability to die from a sauna. If your Sims use the sauna too many times in a row, they're going to get a little too relaxed to the point where they're going to relax for the rest of their lives. You can see here that Don Lothario spent too much time in his sauna and is now going to pass away, and it's very sad. We're going to miss you, Don. Sorry. R.I.P. But yeah, you should definitely not use the sauna too many times in a row because you can pass away, and that's not fun. And finally, for game pack deaths, we have The Sims 4 Jungle Adventure, where you have a chance when you're going through Selva Dorada to get hit by a poisoned dart or get poisoned in a couple of other ways. And if this happens, you need to figure out the antidote and get rid of it. If you don't get rid of it, your Sims are going to have these big green circles all over their body, and within a few days they will pass. You will get different moodlets letting you know kind of how much time you have left, but you should definitely research or talk to some people in Selva Dorada to figure out how to get rid of it, just so that you don't pass away if you don't want to. But if you want to, like, that's cool too. Do your thing. And now we're going to talk about the expansion pack deaths. Some of my favorite ones come from this. So first we'll go over the deaths that come with seasons. The first one is, of course, death by freezing. If you have a Sim who's outside in the wintertime and it's a little bit cold outside and you send them in their summer clothes or everyday outfit and they aren't wearing their cold weather clothes, they are definitely going to have a chance to freeze to death. You can see Judith Ward passing away from that on screen right now. It's beautiful. We love killing all of the townies that y'all love. It's real fun. But yeah, if you want to be outside in the wintertime, you should definitely put some cold weather clothes on, or your Sims do have a chance to pass away. Next, we have death by burning, which is essentially the same concept, but if you're out in the summer, especially during a heat wave, wearing warm weather clothes or even your everyday outfit, you have a chance to burn. And that's not fun. You don't want to overheat and die in the summertime. That would be very uncomfortable. Personally, I think I'd rather freeze to death. Is that weird? I don't know. Anyway, you should definitely wear hot weather clothes when it's hot outside and cold weather clothes when it's cold outside, unless you want your Sims to pass away. And next we have death by the death-scented flower arrangement. So this is actually one that I didn't know about when I made my last video. I had no idea that this was a thing. But if you get a Sim who has a high flower arranging skill to put a death flower scent onto a flower arrangement and they give it to an elder, that elder will immediately pass away. Which is crazy. I had no idea that this was a thing, and I definitely would use this, because I think it's kind of funny. Like, if you have a Sim who, just got married but doesn't like their mother-in-law, and like the mother-in-law's an elder, and they're just like, here's some beautiful flowers, enjoy death. I think that's hilarious. So apparently that's a thing that I had no idea existed. So you can definitely make a death-scented flower arrangement and give it to an elder to make them pass. And finally, I didn't get any gameplay footage for this one because it's very hard to make happen, but there is a chance of dying by lightning if you're outside in a thunderstorm, and I was unable to capture that. So it is something that exists, but it's not something that I'm able to get, apparently. The next one we have is from The Sims 4 Discover University, and I'm not going to talk about servos in this video, I'm just going to talk about actual Sims, but if your Sim decides that they want to contribute knowledge using the research machine, and they do this too many times, they have a chance to get a dazed moodlet, and if they do it again, they have a chance of just dying. And since it's a thing where you're sitting down, they kind of just sit there, and then they just die, and they just wait for Grim while sitting in the chair, and I think that that's really weird, but I kind of like it. Is it weird that I like deaths in The Sims? I think they're hilarious. But you definitely don't want to give too much knowledge because then your brain seems to fry a little bit and then you just pass away. The next one we have is from The Sims 4 City Living, and this is death by poor quality pufferfish. If a Sim goes to one of the stalls and chooses to have pufferfish nigiri and they eat the entire meal, they'll actually learn how to cook it. Now, if they have a low cooking skill and they go home and they make this and it is a poor quality, then someone else eats it, that somebody else will pass away. Yeah. You definitely don't want to have a bunch of Sims come over that you don't like and throw a dinner party and feed them all poor quality pufferfish nigiri for dinner, because that would be bad. Or would it? And the final two death types come from The Sims 4 Eco Lifestyle and are the new ones to this video and the whole reason why I'm remaking this video. The first one is actually death by Beetle Juice. Now this wasn't really talked about by the Sim gurus or anything. They didn't really mention it. I didn't even know that this was a thing until I was like doing more research for this video, I thought it was just death by flies that we got with Eco Lifestyle, but apparently you can die by beetle juice. So what you need to do is you have to have a high level mixology skill and have beetle nuggets in your Sim's inventory. You can use those bug boxes to farm beetles and get these beetle nuggets, and then they'll end up in these little packages in your inventory. And then you need to make 3 beetle juice drinks on the bar in a row and get a Sim to drink them back to back. And this Sim will immediately just turn into a ghost. So it's not like a Grim Reaper death where they come in and take your Sim away, but they do just turn into a ghost, and they are a live-in ghost, so they'll still be in your household. But it is kind of a fun little addition to the game, you know? Death by beetle juice. I honestly think this is pretty funny because you're supposed to say Beetlejuice 3 times, but in this you drink Beetlejuice 3 times and then you turn into a ghost. That's hilarious. The last one we have is death by flies. This happens when you have the recycle lot trait, which actually makes it so that your outdoor garbage cans are no longer bottomless. You have to actually pay attention to your garbage, and they will get cockroaches around them if you don't, and they will get some flies hanging out, and you have the chance to go over and bond with the flies. Now, I found that the only way to really get this to happen is if your Sim is in a really bad mood. If your Sim's in a good mood, they may have a little bit of a negative experience where the flies attack them a little, but I had to get my Sim to pee her pants and be stinky and then have to pee again, be in a terrible social mood, have like 0 fun, and then it finally actually happened, and it was interesting. The flies will kind of just take your Sim out, and this is actually from a previous Sims game where they had death by flies, so I'm really excited that they added this back, but it is very, very rare, so it's not going to happen for you very easily. If this is how you want to kill a Sim, I would suggest just starving them to death. But yeah, guys, those are the 26 death types in The Sims 4. If I missed any, please let me know in the comments down below. They're going to add more death types, I assume, to the game at some point, so I'll probably have to remake this video. But if you enjoyed it, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, as well as the 100 Baby series and a Rags to Riches series. I really have a lot of fun making these videos, so I hope that you enjoy watching them. I hope you're having an awesome day, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody!